Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 3. So Module 3 is the start of our first essay assignment. You will be working on a narrative essay. So this module is to introduce you to the essay and give you a chance to do some pre-writing and brainstorming on your topic before you start drafting the essay in the next module. So you can take a look here at what we've got. Two assignments, fairly simple. We have a readings quiz. This quiz I think is your first readings quiz other than the thesis exam. That's not quite the same thing. But this readings quiz just goes over the content of the book. So you want to make sure that you do the readings. It goes over, there's two chapters here, one on narration and one on description, and then there are a couple of articles as well, and those will be part of the quiz. So you want to make sure that you look over those first. Those are, remember, under your vital source link that will take you to the patterns textbook, and you will be able to look at those two chapters. And I do recommend looking through them before actually attempting the quiz, although you can take the quiz multiple times if you want to. So once you're done with that, you'll have a good foundation of ideas for what narrative is. So our first essay is a narrative essay, and a narration is a story, telling of a story. And so if you like creative writing, this will kind of be up your alley. This is the only chance you really get to practice creative writing in a composition class. Most of your writing in composition is academic. And so in this case, you actually get to practice some of those techniques if you really like them. Plus, a lot of the stuff that we work on in this essay will be carried forward, but just in a different way. So in this essay, you'll be using, well, it's what's called dialogue. So what the characters say within a story, and those will go in quotation marks. When we get to the next essay, you'll be using quotations from sources. The formatting will look the same. The objective is still very similar, but we're taking what we work on in a story and we're changing it, and we're kind of moving forward with it within the next essay. So you'll see a lot of similarities as we really work on developing these skills. So this essay is, the objective is to choose a moment in your life, an event that happened in your life that changed you somehow as a person. So you can pick something. I give examples here of a lot of students will pick, a death or a birth or a marriage or some other kind of life-altering event that most humans have experienced. And that's fine if you want to, but I do encourage you to think beyond that. I've had a lot of students write this essay. I've been teaching this essay for 15 years. So I've seen a lot of different narrative assignments. And the best stories are ones where students have picked something that actually really changed them. And it may just be, a conversation that they had. It may just be a witnessing of an altercation. So it may not be really dramatic, but it really just changed how they thought about themselves. So there's a lot of stuff that you could choose for this essay. There's a lot of different topics that you might end up writing about. So, and everybody has an event like this. So don't feel like, a lot of times students look at this and go, I have never experienced anything important in my life ever. And I'm like, that's not true. You have plenty of things that you could write about. Some of you will have to think a little bit harder about it than others. So the three main components of this essay are description, narration, and dialogue. So description is the use of those like sensory details and explanations of what things looked like, specific language, those vivid word choice, that kind of thing, that we want to recreate the scene for the reader. You'll learn in the chapter about objective versus subjective descriptions, and so you can use those. You can use those sensory details. There's a lot of stuff in the chapter on description that will help you. There's another chapter, the other chapter you'll read is on narration, and that is just the building of the story. The objective is to build some tension or suspense for the reader so that you can build up to some sort of climactic event that will happen. And when I get to the next assignment, I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So you've got a lot of different things that you can do with this essay, but basically you want to be building a story up to the event that happens, right? And then the other important part, besides, and the dialogue would be whatever the characters say. Sometimes you may have to make up the dialogue if you don't remember exactly what was said, but you can also, you can use thoughts if you need to. We're not going to know if it's not exact, so that's okay. And then an indication of why the event is significant to you. This is an important part of the essay as well, typically in the conclusion. So this is not going to look like a traditional essay. A lot of times students get kind of confused. They want to put a thesis in the introduction, which is fine if you want it, but most likely you're going to have what's called an implied thesis statement, and that is there's no single sentence in your essay that really is a thesis, but there is the implication of what you learned throughout, and that significance of the event, whether you're explaining that in the conclusion or the introduction or whatever, that is really the thesis of the story. Obviously you're using first person. It is first person perspective. Please don't write about yourself in the third person. It gets weird. And then 2 to 5 pages. So most of the time I give kind of a range of page numbers. If you're under 2 pages, you have not chosen an event that's significant enough. If you're over 5 pages, that means the event you've chosen is probably more than one event. You want something that's happened within a day or less. So the event should be brief. It needs to be something short. If you have to explain kind of what happened before and after the event, that's fine. But you want to make sure that the event itself, so the focus of the story is just within, that one time frame, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 moment. That's what we really want. So in order to plan this essay, you're going to do some pre-writing. This is a journal assignment, but I'm not having you do it as a discussion board. I'm just having you do it on in a Word document. But we're practicing the same kinds of techniques that we just looked at in the previous module. So the first one is a 10-minute free write. It's a little bit longer than the free write you did before in the previous module in that pre-writing journal. So just set a timer for 10 minutes and type as many things as you can think of as possible. And there's some questions that you can answer to help you out with thinking of different things that have happened within your life, different events that could potentially be something that you could use. And then the second part is to actually outline your essay. And I've got some narrative ideas here if you want to look at this document, or you can look at your free write. You don't necessarily have to use something from your free write for your essay, but that's sort of the purpose of the free write. So most of the students will come up with something in the free write, and then that turns into the outline. So for your outline, you write out a working thesis, which will probably not end up in your essay because, like I said earlier, that implied thesis is typically what students use, but it's just a statement of the significance of the event. And then you have 5 sections to your essay. The exposition of the essay is the background information. The initial incident is kind of what starts everything, and the rising action is the second part. So we have exposition, background information, why you were there, who was there, what you were doing, and the rising action is where the action starts. So it's when you went to this particular place, or when you got in the car to start driving. The climactic moment is the event that happens. And so that's where we get to the high point of the story and the focus of the story. So this is the car crash, or the winning of the game, or the losing of the game, or you're breaking your leg, or whatever happened. That's the climactic moment. Some students, the climactic moment's kind of a little earlier in the story because there's not a lot of buildup, like a car crash. There's not going to be a lot of rising action to a car crash because typically they happen there, and it's an accident. It happens out of the blue. So we tend to get the climax faster and then just longer falling action. But other things, like if it's winning a football game, you're going to have a lot of rising action. You have 4 quarters of rising action up to the climax, which is the winning of the game. So following action would be what happens as a result of, and then the resolution is where we see that significance of the event. So you can read through the directions, a couple of sentences for each section, and kind of outline your story. And this gives me a chance to give you feedback on your essay plan before you start writing your essay. So that's the module. Again, we're working with fairly simple assignments, but we're now starting to plan your first essay. If you have any questions, send me an email. Otherwise, have a great week.